everyone, and welcome to a bonus FaceHAMMER show on the release day of the IDONETH and Fireslayer books gone up for pre-order. And I wanted to talk through my IDONETH Deepkin initial list. So I have played a game with this. It's slightly different to the one I played the game with because I made some changes. I had a game against Byron's Destruction. It was quite effective. I just want to talk through the list and why I've chosen, and what it does. So I've gone for Morphan Enclave, which allows my soul render to bring back an extra 3 models in the battle shock phase. I really like Morphan from a color scheme and from a background point of view. You can pick pretty much anyone that you want. If you want to make your Alapex's battle line, or you want to make the Leviathan battle line, or you want to change things, that you can do whatever you want. I really like Morphan. It's just my favorite. And I quite like the idea of putting from the Referral units, being able to add like between up to 5 to 6 models back in those units. So 4 to 6 models, or in the Reavers. So you can just basically boost those units back up. So my general is a soul render. Now he's got the trait Teachings of Tuskull. I probably mispronounced that. No, that allows me to flip the tides, and it's quite important if you're playing an aggro army that you want a high tide on round 2, because you're not gonna make it to round 3 if they're gonna hit you early. And there's quite a lot of stuff in the game that can do that. Iron Jaws, Stormcast Dragons, things like that. So I've gone for a 1-drop, so I have a choice to deny people that alpha as well. And also there's quite a lot of shooting in this list, so it's a bit of a balanced army. It does have some combat power as well. So my general's a soul render. It doesn't give away an easy battle trait if they target him, but I've gone for him. So I'll just go through, as I talk through things, I will explain them. So the Tides of Death, if you flip the tides, high tide is when you strike first. So for IDONETH Deepkin units. So for me, I think that's really good in round 2. And then, if you don't need the cover save, obviously you've got the Void Drum from the turtle anyway. You also get rituals. So one of the rituals I like is the Ritual of Deep Sight, which Marty units by high tide of a 4-5 at ward save. So that again in round 2 means your thralls are more resilient. If you're playing someone who's quite slow, they're not going to get you on round 1 anyway, so it's quite good. And you can be quite aggressive with how you move up the table, knowing that in round 2 you're pretty much going to fight first of everything, and you can give the turn away and say, well, you have a go, and you're fast enough to get there in 2 turns. So even if you just run into the middle of the board and they win the roll for turn, you don't care because you're still going first in combat. So like you can literally be really, really aggressive with the army. You still got Unleash Hell and redeploy and things like that. So yeah, I really like it. The others, you can choose these in the first battle round after players receive their command points before the start of the first turn. So like you need an Ishran unit, which the soul render is. He's also my general, which allows me to use the Teachings of Tuskull, which is if the generals on the battlefield start the first round before priority, you can declare the Tides of Death table be reversed. So it gives me the control to flip the tides to minimal and high tide on turn 3 or turn 2. And the rituals can be tailored per the army. If you're playing against another shooting army, then you wouldn't flip the tides, and you could use the Ritual of Creeping Mist, give the turn away, give you the chance at the double. Still very effective, means they can only shoot if they're in 12, doesn't affect you. So you're able to shoot them with impunity. And you've got quite a decent shooting phase. And then in the next one, you get +1 to run and charge, allows you to get there quicker. So I think the 2 choices are really good. So for me, they're both good choices. Obviously, like there's ways to get a ward save around Gloom type shipwrecks as well, which is worth mentioning. I've got an Eidolon, so I'll go back to the list. So I've got a Aspect of the Sea. I think he's better than Storm. He's got Steed of Tides for the spell. This is for teleports, because then you can use his spell because he's within 9. So you set him up within 9. 9 away, then you can use his 12-inch range spell. He's got the Bioshock Shell, so I'll just talk about that. So the Bioshock Shell, again, if you've got someone who's going to aggro you, I actually used this against Byron. It worked. It was really effective. It's a little bit random, but it's almost so good if it goes off. So you say once per battle at the start of the combat phase, so they could charge you. And then the combat phase, you pick an enemy hero within 9. So I used it on a Maw Crusher. Roll 3d6. If the roll's greater than that hero's bravery, the strike last. So it's a defensive thing. So he charged more crush to my thralls. I popped the Bioshock shell. I rolled a 10. I think he's bravery 8 or 9, the more crusher. He went last. The thralls cut him up quite significantly. And then he hit me, wiped them out, but I was fine with that. So the Bioshock shell, I really like that. It's a really nice mess with your opponent's head artifact. You could change it. I mean, you could do something else. I like the Runer's Surge and Gloom Tide. It's good. You can run this list in Hunters and Warlord and take the Rune of the Gloom Tide, which allows you to set up a shipwreck, or Brain Barnacles, which is okay, but I found it was too situational. I didn't get to use it because originally I ran Warlord and Hunters and I had Brain Barnacles, but it never really come up. So then the Aspect of the Sea, which I should talk about. So he is a 2-cast wizard with 3-up save, movement 12. So awesome. 5-up water save, great. Can reroll cast, spell, and unbind. That's just so powerful. Like, just been an reroll unbinds on the enemy. Some of those spells can be game altering. Like, if you stop it, it can, people want to use bridge or want to use something. Just to stop that is just amazing. It also gives all my units bravery 10, which just stops me worrying about battle shock really on the thralls. I love his spells. So you've got Cloying Sea Mist. It's on a 6, range 12. If you pick an IDONETH unit, they heal D3 wounds. So you can heal like the turtle, you can heal a shark, you can just chip some of the wounds back off of your hero. If you again, I mean, they take D3 mortals, so again, it's a flexible spell. He gets to cast twice. Tsunami of Terror is the spell I was talking about. So it's a range of 12, take D3 enemy units, subtract 1 from save rolls from melee weapons. So like on the turn that you want to be aggressive and you want to charge him, the sharks, you can teleport with Steed, so you're in range, hit them with the things, move the sharks, the Leviathan up, and even the thralls, reavers, whatever, especially if it's high tide, and you just literally just launch your army in and then minus extra rend on everything basically. It's even better than that because it's a -1 to their roll, not a rend on you. So its net is really good. I just, yeah, it's solid, and like Steed allows you to teleport around the table, get where you need to be in range of stuff. It's solid. So I really like this guy. He's got a shooting attack at 12-inch range as well, so he can teleport shoot after he's cast a spell, then have a go at a 9-inch charge. So it's pretty good. I really like him. I mean, you could pick other spells, like they're not bad. Like, I mean, I think I picked the Current, which is the reduced range. I really like it if you knew the whole lore. I think it'd be awesome if he did that, but unfortunately he doesn't. But if he did, it would be amazing. And then go back to the list. So I've got a Thrall Master, the new hero, and he's in there really. He's a bit cheap. He could be someone else. He could be another Soul Render, which he probably should be, for more healing. So you could just take a second one. But I quite like the idea of having the new hero because he buffs the Namati, and some of his buffs are pretty cool. So he's got he's a bit of an optional choice really, but he's got his he's pretty good in combat. He doesn't have a ward, but he does have reroll hit rolls of 1 for the Marty, which is quite good. The Way of the Riptide, which is every 6 scores 2 hits, which is solid. And then you could have -1 to wound rolls, so it's a defensive buff as well if you want to make sure you survive to get the healing in the battle shock phase. With that, with a ward save from the shipwreck and from the extra save from the Leviathan and a Mystic Shield, and they can be pretty defensive, so you can actually, like, they're not as weak as you think. So I quite like them with the 2-inch reach as well. You can be quite small, you can set them in 2 rows of 5. Really like the thralls. I think they're solid. I like the models. I like the idea of the soulless children. It's just cool. They're just basically blind and yeah, they're nasty. I like the idea of an IDONETH army looking nasty. It's kind of how I picture them. Then you've got the shooting element. So in the army, for the battle line, I've got 2 10 thralls, 10 reavers, 2 Alapex and Leviathan. Now the reavers actually are very solid. So like they shoot 18 inches, 2 shots, freeze, 1 rend, 1 damage. But they get +1 hit if the enemy's within 9. So, like, if you're Unleash Hell, they're within 9, you're at +1 anyway, because, you're -1/+1, so you're back to freeze. But actually, you get a benefit because I've got the Leviathan. It says that you can add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by Namata units that target an enemy unit wholly within 12 of the Leviathan. So if you're bubbling up properly, you're now hitting on 2s. It's pretty decent. You know, 2s freeze, Ren 1, 20 shots for 10 guys. You can garrison the shipwreck, put the thralls 5.5 inches away from it. So if they just 5.6 inches. So basically, they charge you. They're going to be within half an inch of you wherever they charge you. You're going to get to unleash hell from the Gloomtide. The thralls have got a 5 up ward save. The Leviathan gives them +1 armor save. You're at +1 to hit against them. They're another +1 hit because they're within 9 of the Reavers. So you set up like your Gloomtide with your Reavers in, your Turtle, your line of thralls, your other thralls. You got your Leviathan. You got your Eidolon, Bravery 10. Then you can, in the battle shop, bring back D3+3 models. If you've got your Soul Render nearby, if he gets to pile in an attack, it's really good. His lore is really good for breaking coherency as well against units. So I really like this little bastion. I think it's a really good little defensive position. And all the time that you're moving up, you're shooting. So the Leviathan, we're talking about it now. I quite like the Void Drum for the 15-inch range because I think it's massive, like wholly within to get the +1 to hit, but 15 is big. Ancient's good if you're facing shooting, but they're IDONETH, so you can just make them shoot something else. Personally, I think probably the drum range is my default. I think I've put Ancient on the list, but you could change it. 24-inch range, 8 shots, freeze, Ren 1, D3 damage. It's the same as the harpoon on the sharks. It's good in combat. It's quite fast. It flies. It's got a good save. Lots of wounds. You can heal it with the Aspect of the Sea. Love it. Obviously gives you access to monstrous rampages as well. Alapexes are great. They're just great all round. I've got a 2, so I can have a champion because he gets +1 to hit rolls for all attacks made by the model's melee weapons. So that's the whole model gets +1. Makes it 2s freeze, Ren 1, damage 1 on the hooks and blades on the back, and then 3 attacks, 2s freeze, Ren 2, damage 2. But also if you shoot or kill a model in the thing you're going to fight or do a wound, you're now getting an extra attack. Really good if you've decided to go in the Shiver route with Futan. You could split them up into 3 individuals, but you can't have a champion them. I don't rate the net launcher. I think the harpoon launcher is the way to go. It gives you 4 shots against the same profile as the Leviathan. So a unit of 2 does the same output, and a unit of 1 is half the output. But if you look at it overall, out of the 2 sharks, the Leviathan and the other, that's basically 20 shots that are D3 damage, and then you've got the 20 shots from the other guys, and you've got the shot off the Aspect of the Sea. So together, that's quite a lot of shooting. Obviously, you've got access to Unleash Hell. They're fast. They move in 14. They fly. So what you can do is basically shoot stuff, and then they can like mob something and kill it. It gives you the reach as well to deploy quite far back, but still get into threat range and onto objectives. So I really like the Leviathan, the Achillean Alapexes. I think they're great. Eels, not so much. So that's where I'd go with those. So basically, that's the list, really. I mean, it's simplistic in terms of it's just got this balance. You've got the Thrall Master to buff the thralls. You can bring models back. You can flip the tides. You can make stuff go last. You've got the mobile shooting platform. You've got your defensive thing in the Gloomtide with the Reavers. I've gone for the drum. So the drum for the extra range. You've got 1980. You get your +1 to wound triumph. In Morphan, hold the line ground strategy. Again, you can mix and match as you like. If you think it's easier to keep your Aspect of the Sea alive, you can pick that one, or whatever. But for me, and take Prize Sorcery or whatever it is, I think that's a decent list. I think it's it allows you to be aggressive in close combat, particularly during high tide. It does an awful lot of damage. You can chip away, force them to come at you. Then you can go in and be aggressive on high tide on turn 2. It's a 1-drop, so you can force them to go first, or you can stop the alpha. Also, with the ritual, you can shut down enemy shooting if you're worried about an alpha shooting list. You know, the Bioshock shell's a great reactionary thing as well. The buff from the Leviathan's just always on, so as long as you deploy correctly, you should be fine. So that's my balanced IDONETH list. This is what I'm going to be painting and hopefully taking to the Hampshire GT. I do think it's a solid army. It's a lot of fun to use. It's got a little bit of everything. Aesthetically, it looks great because you've got the different heights, different levels. It almost looks like a one of everything. And basically, you can do it very easily with like a start collecting, a Leviathan, an Eidolon, the Fury of the Deep box set, and like, you know, a couple boxes of sharks, and you're done. So like it's not that hard to get this army on the table. It looks nice and it's a lot of fun to use. So that's my army list that I'll be working on and playing with. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. If you think there's something you would do differently, if you've got an IDONETH list you're particularly excited about using, or an enclave you particularly prefer, again, put it in the comments, and like and subscribe and do the algorithm thing, because that helps other people find us, or just tell your mates about this video. But thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll do some content where I've actually played some more games with it and I can give you some coverage on how it went and what happened with it. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in the next one.